Now when I run my file, I'm going to type in C again. Remember, I'm expecting to get color of money and cocktail. I instead get nothing but Footloose, which I'm sure Tom Cruise wouldn't be very happy about. If I type in D again, I'm getting all Footloose here. So let's say that I wanted to debug this thing. So again, I'm going to go back to the same line that I did before, where the suggestions are actually outputted, and I'm going to set a breakpoint there. So I want to examine what the variables are looking like at that point. And I'm going to type in C again, and my execution will be paused. And there's actually a whole bunch of ways that you can examine the variables at this point. One way is to look in the scope variable, under scope variables like I showed before. So we can see that this output function, which is called render rows, has this first value is called rend rows, and that's where the actual names of these movies are coming from. So if I look at the rend rows value at this point, you can see that the data here is Footloose, and everywhere I look in, it's the same problem. So we know at this point our data is already corrupted. I mentioned that there was a few different ways to look at this data. I could also set a watch expression. So say rend rows, and if I add this, it should give me that same array with these bad values in it. I can also just go into this code and mouse over it, and I'll get a bubble that shows me the objects. And if that weren't enough ways, I can also open a console, and I can just type in rend rows and get that same info. All right, so we know that at this point our script is messed up. So I'm going to remove this breakpoint, resume execution. Why don't we go back to the beginning of the function, because this function gets a value called rows, which is the source of this data, and I'm going to set a breakpoint right there. So I want to see what the value of rows is as I'm getting it, because maybe that's where the bad data is coming from. All right, so I have my breakpoint. I'm going to type in C again, and then let me examine rows here. So we can see here we're getting good data here. We have cocktail, the color of money, etc. So we know by this point our data is good. So somewhere in between that we're going astray. So I'm not going to set breakpoints anymore, but I know that my rend rows object is being populated by this for loop here. So why don't I'm going to add to the bottom of it some logging. So I'm just going to say console.log, and I'll say rows sub I. Now when I run this thing, let me open up my console here and clear it. When I run this, I should be getting the value of rows sub I in there. And you can see I'm getting Footloose 4 times. So I know by this point my data is messed up. So I could look in a little closer here, examine what's going on, and spot the source of my bad data, which is this right here. If I then clear it out, and now we should be back to running good. And there we go. We have our good data back. So there's a look at how you can go about debugging with the DevTools.
Question.
Yes?
Is there a way of break on data change?
I don't think so. I mean, you can set watch expressions to see what the value of your data is, but
Will that cause, in other words, can you say
you want to break when it has your data, your variable has some value.
has changed?
Has changed at all.
Right.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. I could be wrong.
You can do it in the get plugin. This will make you can message now. Report that.
Yeah, so if we don't have that, that sounds like a great feature request to submit. And again, I'll put up our where you can give us feature requests and bugs at the end of the talk. Okay, so next, how are we on time, by the way, Dan?
I don't know. We got till 9.
Okay, so if I go 15 more minutes, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, cool. All right, so next I'm going to be talking about using the DevTools as sort of a mini IDE. And I gave a talk at Google I/O where I showed, like I said, I work on the extensions team. I showed how you could build an extension really quickly in 2 or 3 minutes. So I'm actually going to build the same extension that I did there, but I'm going to show you how you can do it in like 30 seconds using the DevTools. So first, let me talk about my setup here. So this is how I actually will go about debugging extensions when I get questions about them. I have this this test extension set up, and how many of you are familiar with extensions or have built one? Or? Okay, so since many of you have not, let me explain quickly. Chrome extensions are basically web pages. They're a collection of web files, and they have this this metadata file that describes all their different components. So in this case, we have this metadata file called manifest.json. Let me zoom in here. So it's going to have pointers to the other components that are in the extension, and you can see these are the other components. They're just HTML files and an image. So I'm going to open this manifest file in a text editor. Zoom in here. So this is actually on the more complex side for a manifest file. They're usually pretty short. And what I've done here is essentially given this extension every possible permission that it could have, and given it as many different components as I could that can be edited in the browser. And the reason I've done this is because you've seen that DOM, HTML and CSS and JavaScript can be edited in the fly with the DevTools. The one thing that can't be edited on the fly is something like this manifest.json file. So I have this file that just has everything in it, and then I can edit all the other components on the fly. So this file points to different components like a background page here and an options page here, which are also contained in my directory. So these are actually just all empty files. So if I open them, you'll see they're just completely blank. Here's my pop-up. All right, so all of those are blank. I'm essentially starting with a completely blank slate here. I don't know how well I explain extensions. Any questions about that? Okay. All right, so I already have this extension installed. And what I'm going to do is I want to inspect the background page. So a background page is a special extension component that's rendered but never actually shown to the user. So there's no way I could get to it, inspect it with normal means. So I have to go to the extension management page, and I have to click this link to inspect the background page. Let me make this a little smaller. So here I can actually make my font bigger so you can see it. So I already have what's called a browser action set up for this extension. So this is a little button that shows up in the toolbar. You can see though that it's completely blank. If I click over here, nothing's happening at all. So the first thing that I want to do is add some UI there so you know it's there. And I'm in the execution environment of this background page. So I can call extension API methods that I wouldn't otherwise be able to call. And this first one that I'm going to call is called Chrome .browser action. And the function I want is called set icon. And you can see this is all doing auto-completion for me, so it's super easy. This is going to take an object with I think it's a path